You know, the bottom fell out in October, right as I was getting prepared to launch the debut of Profiles Mississippi, and it hit everybody. I mean, your day job's with Pinnacle Trust and our good friend Stacy Wall, and it hit everybody. And I would imagine that the nonprofits have really taken it on the chin. Now, was there any reticence? You know, did you think maybe we should hold off on the launch, or do you think people will always give?
I do. In fact, the studies indicate that during times of trouble, that certain kinds of giving actually increase, and giving overall has been very steady in terms of percentage of income for the last 20 years or so. But certain organizations actually have increases. Now there are some that are seeing a real hit in their budgets. The ones that seem to benefit more are the ones that are actually helping people who we perceive to be suffering the most from these types of economic downturns, because we become a little more empathetic. We figure we're hurting, well, then these people must really be hurting. So those organizations tend to benefit more. There are certainly some colleges, museums that are more high culture, if you will, that will be impacted negatively.
And let me back up. You can't just donate to any quote-unquote charitable organization through 10beyond.com. I mean, they have to be registered, do they not?
Actually, and there's two parts to being affiliated with us. One is, if you are on the IRS's register of qualified 501c3s, you can get a check from us. So any organization in America that is a 501c3 organization that has filed a Form 990.
Well, that's the bona fide, I guess, right there, right?
Yes.
I mean, the legitimacy is answered.
That's how we legitimize the organization. Then they can receive a check from us.
Do you chart, I'm sure you do, I would imagine you can chart the number or the amount of money given to each particular charity? And then let me ask you if you have heard from any of these charities since you have initiated the 10beyond.com project.
Answer to both is yes. What we do is, since we just started in June, what we are, and this is all disclosed in our agreements, if you gave a gift in June, the check to the nonprofit is going to be sent on or about the 15th of August. You say, well, now why is you holding for 2 months? We want you to get a chance to get your credit card statement. We want you to be able to look at your credit card statement and validate that this was indeed your charge that you made. And if for some reason there was, and which is a rare one I can imagine, that there was an unauthorized use of your card to make a donation, then you could call and say, hey, I didn't authorize this, and we would still have the funds. So we hold it until that first statement. So the charities on these first rounds, and we've benefited approximately 35 charities so far, those charities have not yet received their first check. And when we do, I anticipate hearing from them. And we've got about 80 charities that have registered online who have said, hey, we want to do more than just be a recipient. We want to become affiliated somehow, so let us know how to do that.
These are 80 charities throughout the country, too. It's
right.
Not just here in Jackson.
David Kimball, it's a small staff, I guess. You don't need a huge staff to do this. And that's another beauty of web-based entrepreneurial endeavors, I suppose, right?
That's correct. We have a staff of, I suppose, 2.5, to be accurate.
What, a short person?
I'll be the short person. And we wear many hats. In time, we're going to have to increase that staff somewhat because, as you can imagine, promoting this through social networks is very, very time intensive. I log off around 11:30 at night, usually, myself. But for now, it's a very small staff. But administrative, there's not much administration. Most of it's promotion.
And my philosophy, Jack, is to outsource everything that is not contributing to the bottom line that's a cost factor. So much of the things that we do, we can outsource.
Finally, let me ask you this. It's great that this is a Mississippi-based company because Mississippi has a reputation, and it's demonstrable, in fact, that we are the most philanthropic and giving nation state in the nation. Do you foresee, or have you gotten any national coverage from national media regarding 10beyond.com?
I foresee it for sure, because it's only going to be once this thing begins to take traction and begins to kind of reverberate, and we want to kind of shake up some of the existing places like the Facebook causes, which we feel like we can do such a better job of bringing real money to the attention of these nonprofits. I want to say that we were proud recipients of a third place award at the Mississippi Technology Alliance's recent
Right.
Mississippi Hall of Fame gala for their business plan competition. And we were against some very stiff, and I feel very, I mean, I was sitting in this room with guys who are representing companies, spin-offs from NASA, and who were doing such, some really advanced stuff, biotech, and so I was very proud that we were able to say, to place third in that group of competition.
Let me go back to the giving question to kind of wrap things up. You're in the financial world, and David Kimball, you come from marketing. How is it that the poorest state in the union can also, by the same token, be the most giving state in the union? How's that possible?
Much of that is because of our demographic. I mean, the largest recipients of charitable gifts are still the religious organizations. So being a Bible Belt state, we're ingrained with this idea of giving. And so whether it's as a result of disasters like Katrina, we are ingrained with this idea that it is a responsibility to help our fellow man.
Let me ask you this finally. Would there ever be a situation where 10beyond.com would actively promote a particular charity? Let's say, God forbid, the Gulf Coast of New Orleans is hit by another major hurricane this summer. Could you activate your sources and say, all right, we're going to push for this particular charity? Are you allowed to do that? Would you do that?
We are very committed to being cause neutral in the sense of trying to take a position on issues. At the same time, we have a strategy for responding to things like this. That don't mean that we're actually taking a position on a cause or issue, but it means that we're simply helping to facilitate a response to a national emergency or issue.
Gentlemen, this is fascinating. We could talk another 30 minutes, and I'm sure I'll have you on again. But David Russell, David Kimball here from 10beyond.com. 10beyond.com is where people can get information. I guess that's all to say. You don't have to give out phone numbers or street addresses anymore, just the website. Is that correct?
The website's the best place to go.
And I would invite people to look at that today. It's an interesting, I mean, I looked at your website, and you can really learn a lot just by looking at it. And I would urge listeners, if you make charitable contributions, and chances are, if you listen, if you're here in Mississippi, you do, then you do so through 10beyond.com, a progressive, fascinating, locally owned company. David, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jack. Great to be here.
I think Gary Walters is in the green room. He may be painting it right now. He's going to be coming up here in just a few minutes. I'm Jack Chris. This is Profiles Mississippi Radio. We're going to take a quick break with Boz Scaggs. I'll try and find my Herb Alpert CD, and we'll be back shortly. Stay with us.